Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this episode of the How to Play Chess series, we will be covering check and checkmate. Not the same thing, but one does lead to the other eventually. So consider today's board position. White is currently attacking black. The bishop on b5 is attacking the king. When you attack pieces, there isn't a special name for that, it's simply called attacking. However, because the king is under attack, this is called check. The king is currently in check, and when this happens in a game, you must respond on the very next turn. So in this position, if for example black wanted to proceed with its strategy of controlling the center and it really wants to move its knight or a pawn into the middle of the board, this is an illegal move because you must respond when you are in check. You are currently under attack. Your most important piece, that essentially it ends the whole game when the king is defeated, you must act, and you must act now. So let's talk about the 3 ways to act when you are in check. In this particular position, there are a few different things to consider, but the very first thing you must work out is if you cannot do any of the 3 things that I'm about to mention, that is called checkmate. Game over, end of game, start a new one. You've lost, unfortunately. So let's talk about those 3 conditions. The first one to do is to move your king out of check. In this particular position, the king cannot do that. Option 1 is not available to him because the only move that the black king can make is actually moving towards the bishop and is very much still in check. So it does not work. In a different board position, if for example the king was here and the pawn moved forward onto e4 check, the king can absolutely move away. Very viable option. It could actually capture, but we'll talk about that in a moment. The point is the king has lots of options on where to move. However, in this board position, that's not possible. So already you have to think about king safety. What can we move to next? The second thing that you can do when you are in check is you can capture the piece that is checking you. This option 2 is actually also not available because there are no pieces currently attacking the light squared bishop on b5. These pawns, for example, are not currently attacking. The bishop is fine. So option 2 is not available in this position. Of course, in a different position, that might be ideal. Once again, let me move the king somewhere else entirely, back to this position originally. So let's just say white is checking black's king with a pawn. Black can move away, as we just said. Black can actually capture the pawn. I probably wouldn't. I'd retreat back and try and hide from white's pieces. But the point is, you can do that. And another really fantastic example, let's just say a major piece like a queen or a rook just gets way too close. Let's just say this queen for any reason was here. A bit of a strange position, but let's just say that white got really excited and decided to check black's king. Well, the queen's not defended and the king can move 1 square in any direction, so the king can actually capture the queen. And this does happen in endgames when you've been playing for a very long time and you check the king with a major piece like a queen or a rook and you realize that piece was never defended. The king is not in check when it moves and captures the queen. So there you go, great option. And a lot of the time capturing the piece that is checking you is the best option. But we are now going to move into the third option, which is actually black's only option in this position, and that is to block the check, to defend the king on the very next move. And there are several ways to do this in this position. The queen could move forward. I wouldn't because queen's more valuable than a bishop. I wouldn't do it, but that may in some positions be the only option available to you. You can block with the bishop and now attack the bishop back. you could move the knight in an L shape and block the bishop, or you can move this pawn forward. The pawn here, if it's on c7, you can move it forward and you can actually block the attack, and you're also, because of the way that these pieces move, you're actually attacking the bishop back. All great options, and option 3 is the only option in this position for black. So going back to what we said, you can move the king, you can capture the piece that is checking you, or you can block. In this particular position, your only choice is to block, and you have 4 or 5 different options to do so. And you are ideally attacking that piece back, saying, you know, I value king's safety, please move away, or I will capture you and take you off the board because I'm not going to let you create any more checkmate threats. Going back to what I said at the very beginning of the video about what happens when you can't do any of those 3 things. Well, let's talk about it, shall we? Let's clear the board and let's do a classic checkmate example. Black's king is trapped in the corner. I have to be very, very careful here because otherwise we'll get into a stalemate, which is going to be my next video. Let's just say I like this position. Okay, so the king is in the corner, a8, never good. Never good. This is not a great position for black. And the queen and the king are going to work together to checkmate the king. So there are 2 moves here that will end in checkmate. White can move to b8, or white can move to b7. Let's just say white moves to b7. King is in check. Let's work out, can the king do anything, or is it checkmate? Now, it is, but let's talk about why. Can the king move out of check? No, because if the king moves anywhere, it is still under attack by the queen, and this is actually an illegal move because the kings are not allowed to be next to each other and attack each other. So option 1 of moving is out. Can the king block? No, unfortunately not. There are no pieces that can get in the way. Black doesn't even have any remaining pieces. Black cannot block the attack from the queen on b7. And can you capture? Well, no, unfortunately not. You cannot capture the queen because, again, 2 kings cannot be next to each other. They're attacking each other. It's an illegal move. And again, let's just say that, let's change this. Let's just say it was a rook instead, right? Let's say it was a rook. If the king wanted to attack the queen, it can't because now it's in check or under attack by the rook. So I'll take that rook away and let's just go back to the position. So in this particular position, a classic checkmate example, the king's trapped in the corner, it can't move, it can't defend itself, and it cannot safely or legally capture the queen. This unfortunately is checkmate and white wins. So this is a classic checkmate example. Checkmate can happen in the middle of the board. I've seen it, I've had it, I've actually experienced it. I've also been the one to deliver checkmate when you have all the pieces working in harmony together to trap the king in the middle of the board. But a lot of the time, especially when you have fewer pieces, the best and only way to achieve checkmate is to trap the king in the corner of the board. In the very next video I'm going to make, I'm going to talk about stalemate. And stalemate is a very, very unfortunate to be in. When you checkmate, you win. And especially in tournaments, you get more points. When you deliver a stalemate, it's actually a draw, equal points, and you were about to win, and unfortunately, you stumbled, you made a mistake, and you were so close to delivering checkmate, but you trapped the king. I will talk about this in the very next video and why you always want to be so careful that you're actually delivering checkmate and not stalemate ending in a draw. But I hope you enjoyed this video and you always think about those 3 different scenarios of how to escape check and when eventually checkmate has been delivered and it's game over. Thank you so much for watching and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.